Welcome guys to Dogs of War YouTube channel. Today we have a review of Through the Breach, a Faded Almanac from Weird Miniatures. And today we have Ben. We have Nate.
How's it going?
Nate is our resident, one of our DMs, and Ben also. Nate has read the book, so and me and Ben have skimmed it. So we'll be asking, yeah. So for people who haven't known, Weird is a miniature company.
Mm-hmm.
They make a miniature game, Skirmish. They just came out with this. They kickstarted it. Was very successful at it, and it's based off their miniature game. Same world, mechanics should be around the same.
Yeah.
So let's kick it up.
All right. So first thing is intro. When you pick up this book, what are you getting yourself into? Pretty much, Through the Breach, the Faded Almanac. That's what all your players are going to need to pick up in order to run this game. And actually, for a Fate Master, which is pretty much your game master, your GM, whatever you want to call it, is also going to want to pick this up because this is your primary place where you learn all the rules and everything like that. A little bit about the game. What is Malifaux? Maybe some of you guys haven't played the game. That's completely fine. Basically, little short story. Malifaux is pretty much you have the real world, Victorian era, Wild West, America and everything like that. All of a sudden a breach opens. The only way to get, originally, it was unstable and everything like that. Now they got it stable to where anybody can go through. And in fact, they have a train that leads to that, this area. So pretty much your players, your fated people as they call it, jump on the train and decide, let's go ahead to Malifaux to possibly escape unwanted men, escape your debt, start a new life. Malifaux is all about cheating your fate. You have a fate that you have to beat. If you don't, bad things happen to you.
So fate is something that you roll or you pick?
It's actually something you find out. It's all in character creation. You make it's all about you do a little bit of a tarot read.
Okay.
To where you set it all out. This is how you get your physical, your character attributes, everything like that. And then after that, you go ahead and in the book, you do a specific order, which we'll get into when we get to forging a fate, which is creating character, where you actually go ahead and find out what is your fate and how do it's from there you kind of have to interpret how are you going to beat your fate. Okay. That's the Fate Master's job. You pretty much, when you find out what's everybody's fate, you make a story off of it. All right. So, as we were getting into, how do you forge a fate? How do you create a character?
Before we go there, on the world of Malifaux, it's like you said, Victorian, steampunk, Wild West.
A little bit of magic thrown in. Actually, quite a bit of magic.
Yeah, quite a bit. It is a new dimension.
Yes, it's Malifaux City is kind of the first area we established in, and now it's broken up into multiple factions that are sort of vying for power. I mean, the major one obviously is the Guild. They're kind of like the police of Malifaux City.
Not always fair, but yes.
Not always fair.
And they found material called soul stones.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of people are going to this dimension, this new world, to Malifaux, to exploit that, to get control of that, because it's very powerful.
It's a vital resource to them.
Vital resource. So you have these people coming into this dimension, not knowing that there's people already from that dimension there, called the Neverborn.
Yep.
They are the residents of Malifaux. So there's always a constant fight between the Neverborn
and the Guild.
There's also the Resurrectionists, which is the people who are into the whole undead.
Necromancy.
Then you have the Arcanists. They're all about magical learning and spell casting.
Which is a no-no.
Yeah.
So, and then
it's a no-no if you get caught.
So that's a little bit of background of Malifaux.
Yeah.
So, and Ben here's going to make a character for us. And then Nate is going to go through the whole process for us.
All right.
All right.
A skimmed version of the process.
So, first thing about forging a fate. In order to forge a fate, you actually do have to have a deck of cards. It can be a normal deck of cards, or just to make it easy, you can go to your local hobby shop, buy a deck of Malifaux cards, use it to play the miniature game. You can use it to play this as well. So, I got little nice fancy ones. So what I'm going to have Ben do here is shuffle the deck. There's that. Well,
Also, what makes using the Malifaux deck better or easier than using a regular set of playing cards?
it's a little bit easier because whereas the normal deck has clubs, spades, everything like that, Malifaux has a specific suit. We got masks, tomes, feathers, and rams. Those all govern what triggers. Like, for example, you can be doing this one ability and say you flip over a 2 of rams. That ram could trigger off something like critical strike, which gives you +1 to damage. Or a feather for a spell could give you an additional ability to that spell.
So in Malifaux, you don't use, for you haven't known, Malifaux you don't use dice. You use a deck of cards. It's a diceless game. So in the role playing, it's the same way?
Same way.
No dice, all deck?
No dice, all deck. And also, another good reason to use a Malifaux deck is because King, Queen, and Joker aren't really King, Queen, and Joker. They're
They're
11,
number
12,
in the game.
13, yeah. 11, 12, 13, and the Jokers are 14. A red Joker is a 14, black Jokers are 0. Red's good, black's bad.
Jokers can make it interesting.
All right. So, what you're first going to do is you're going to flip a card and put it in the middle. From here, this is what is called your station card. This is what your father was. Was he a farmer? Was he so on and so forth?
Yeah, 5 of crows.
So, a 5 of crows. You would flip over to the station card.
What page is it?
It is on page 64 and 65.
Okay.
So, a 5 of crows. Your father was a grave robber.
Grave robber.
Okay.
Through that, what you would go ahead and do is you would get a station skill. Yours would be necromancy. And off to the side, you can see a station fate. We're going to hold off a little bit on that because I like to always hear the full fate of things. So, on your character sheet, which I have one right here, there is a page where it says Destiny. There you go. You got your, your station and all that stuff. So what I'm gonna have Ben do here, thank you, is go ahead and write down the 5 of crows, and we'll hold that Destiny part off for a little bit.
All right.
All right. So next card you're gonna flip over is gonna be right over here.
To the left of it?
To the left of it. This is what's
Got an
called
8 of masks.
Yep, 8 of masks. This is what's called your Western card. The good thing about this book, everything is kind of right in a row where you need it. So page 26, 27, your Western cards. From here is where you're going to actually get your physical attributes. So, for example, he got an 8 of masks. So you're going to find the 8 of masks, and you get a -2, a 0, a +1, and a +1. You can put them wherever you want. It just has to be those specific things. The thing I found kind of awkward about this game is you get negatives. Negatives were never good in any role-playing that I've ever played. D&D, War Machine, anything like that. Negatives were never a good thing to have on your stats.
Yeah, but it's good for role playing.
Exactly.
It gives you role playing.
Gives a balance and what you're good at and what you're bad at.
Mm-hmm. And actually, it does give you, later on in the Forging a Fate thing, I'll go ahead and hint over a little bit, it actually does give you a little bit more extra of a bonus than I thought initially. So, alright, so again, you could go ahead and assign whatever you wanted to do.
And I'm assigning these to the aspects up here on the character
Correct.
sheet.
And the aspects is might, grace, speed,
and resilience.
resilience.
Your might governs your your melee, how good you can punch. Grace is kind of your pistol wielding, your gun wielding, how good are you on that. Speed, of course, is your speed, how fast are you, and resilience is your toughness. So how much you can take a hit.
So I think I'm going to go for a ranged aspect character here. So I think I'm going to assign my -2 to my might.
All right.
Add the +1 to my grace. Let's try to make like a gunslinger type character.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make him a little bit faster. Add +1 to my speed, and then I'll put the 0 there in my resilience. I'll be a little bit squishier.
I was going to say, you're an average person now.
Yeah.
All right. So, there we go. Again, you also have the Western Fate, but what I'm going to just have Ben do is go ahead and write down the mask or the card number and suit, and we'll go ahead and flip the next card, which is actually going to be the top. This
Northern
is
card.
your Northern card.
4 of Crow.
Yeah.
I'm liking the crows here.
Yeah. All right. So these are skills. These are supposed to be skills that you got when you were growing up. What caused you to become your gunslinger? What are the initial skills that you got? So, for example, here we got the 4 of Crows, which leads him to have a 3, a 2, a 2, a 1, and a 1. That means you got 5 skills.
I'm assuming those numbers are equivalent to their ranks.
Correct.
How good I'm at them. Okay.
Correct. You're gonna go ahead. You would have to assign them to your what skills you wanted. You can only get 5, and again, you can only put those numbers into the skills. You can't augment them anyway.
Okay.
You can't change up the numbers.
Okay.
So. Skills, there's a large variety of them. There's anything from pistols which govern how well you shoot, to engineering, which is how well you can build steampunk stuff.
Okay.
So we got a large variety, but again, what I'll go ahead and have him do is go ahead and write down the 4 of feathers, and we'll go ahead and continue. We'll get into skills a little bit later. It's kind of skills are kind of the same as in any other RPG. Yeah. All right. So now what you're going to do, flip a card right here.
King of Tomes.
King of
All
Tomes.
right. So this is how you're going to get your mental aspects. Mental aspects are stuff like intellect, charm, cunning, and your tenacity. These are more of your social / how well you handle social situations.
Yeah.
So for King of Clubs, King of Tomes, you got a -1, -1, -1, and a +3. +3 is the highest you can ever get on character creation. So from there you can kind of decide. Intellect kind of governs, again, how knowledgeable you are. Charm is kind of how well you react to people. Cunning is how well you can get out of a situation should things turn bad. And tenacity is how well you can intimidate people to get out of that situation.
Oh.
Okay.
The interesting part of, again, as long as you're a good DM, most of the, you can kind of bypass other rule sets. For example, for here, if you're bad at charm, you don't have to always use charm to get out of a situation.
Right.
You can always use your cunning to try to sneak your way out. You can always
tenacity
use
to threaten your way out.
It promotes role playing.
role playing.
Yes. You look at your aspects and figure out which is the best way in this situation to role play to get out of that.
Yeah, if you have a character who's playing a criminal, he's, who's used to brute force, he's most likely going to use the tenacity to force his way out of the situation.
Correct.
rather than not.
Yeah, and again, negatives aren't that bad, trust me.
Okay.
right.
What's the next one?
All right, so the
Go
next
to the
one,
kingdom.
go ahead. Did you already write the north or eastern card? All right,
I'm writing that right now.
awesome.
And
All right,
filling
and
that-
our last-
Oh,
Black
All right.
Joker.
And yes, there are stats for black jokers and red
Ooh.
jokers in here.
Uh-oh.
Actually, that's
Alright.
not horrible. I
No.
mean, looking at it, I'm getting 2s across the board, and I'm getting 6. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't look bad.
No, so pretty much what this means is you get 6 skill. This is what you would do. These are skills you would get when you're older, when you're going through college, when you're going through high school age. That whole thing.
He's a late bloomer.
Yeah, it took me a while, but I learned a lot about a little bit.
Exactly. So, you would go ahead, you get 6 skills, each of them have 2. You cannot combine them with the earlier skills.
Have to be
Okay, so they
different
have to be-
skills?
They have to be completely different skills.
Okay.
Okay.
So that kind of also, this kind of makes the game a little bit more skill heavy. You're now a skill. You're rather than in some games where you're using your talents, your stats to go ahead and figure out what you're going to do. This is all about skill junkie, as I like to call it. It's all based on your skills. All right. So from there, we've completed making the stats and generating everything like that for the character. So now we have everything we need to make a fate. For example, so what you're going to do is you're actually just going to reverse the order that you just dealt yourself. And that's what your fate's going to be. For example, for you, the Black Joker is once your soul has been stained by silence. And you would
Then I
flip
go back
to
to
the
the
king
king.
of... Yep, you would go back. She strikes with daggers battered from your shield. And then
my 4 of crows.
4 of crows. As you begin, so shall you end.
That's
Always nice to hear.
charming, right?
All right. And then...
The 8 of masks.
8 of masks. There we go. They sing for laughter, tears, and tomorrow. And then, lastly, is your station. And the noose will snap like thunder. So,
I have a feeling I'm going to be hanging at the end of my game.
it's a good possibility.
It's a good thing I'm trying to cheat fate, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't sound too charming, my fate so
I guess
far.
you're gonna rob some cattle and you can get hanged.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or I'm going to end up reaving a grave or something because, that's what my dad did. So, end in the footsteps of my father.
Exactly. And, from here, this is where the Fate Master kind of takes over a little bit. Now that me and you know that what's your fate, now I got to figure out, how am I going to turn that into a story? How can I kind of metaphorically get that fate into what I want in my story? So, and actually, the interesting thing about fates, you solve them one at a time. Each line that we just read, you have to solve one at a time. So, say you fail to do one of your fates. It's not the end for you. You still have the other ones in which you can cheat.
Okay.
All right. So
the fate. So in this game, you don't basically, hey, I'm gonna just pick a pre-gen or just make my own story.
Correct.
Because you have to work with the players to build your story.
Correct.
So the story is very player driven. I see.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the story can get even more intrigue based on how many players you have.
Yes.
If you're running a group of 4 or 5 people, you have all these fates intertwined, and it could come for some interesting events.
So it looks like this is a lot more GM heavy.
Yes. The 4 major downfalls I kind of see for this game. One, for example, how many players you have. You are very limited on the number of players because now how many fates are you going to be able to intertwine in this story? The more fates you can do, the better. However, a lot of the complaints which I've seen, which I do agree, the more people you have, the more clunkier it gets. Because now you're trying to go, okay, I finished one part of your fate. Now I'm going to have to go over to you. What part of your fate am I going to have to do? Okay,
and what's
next
the
person.
reasoning for Ben's character to continue? Once you get his fate.
Correct.
Right.
And
so I guess you have to take each player's fate in sections and try to
see where parts line up and try to weave a story from there.
I bet you that after the session, once the story's done, it's going to feel accomplished.
Oh, definitely. Everybody should feel accomplished by the end of the session.
Yeah.
Also be interesting to see who actually changed their fate and who fell to the fate
kind of
that
accepted their
they've
fate.
taken. I don't want to accept mine. I'm not ending at the end of a noose.
Yeah. So that's one of the things. The second bad thing that I've seen, a lot of RPGs, you get to a certain level, you can continue. All this stuff. In this, so far, they they could come out with expansions and stuff like that. Once you complete your fate, your character's done. He does not continue. He's cheated his fate. He's considered happy for the rest of his life. It's kind of in for a player aspect. It's kind of in the mindset of you're creating a character just to have it end.
One story
to have it end.
I guess you could also do house rules, maybe once you cheated your fate, Destiny will give you a new fate,
Yeah.
reroll your fate, and try it again
Yeah.
and continue the storyline, maybe.
Like the group that I was talking to, pretty much what they decided to do was, once they complete their fate, you go ahead and drop a new fate. Now the fate, the people that rule Malifaux, the Neverborn are kind of angrier at, or the gods are now kind of angrier at you because you changed your fate. Now they're trying to dish out a new fate for you to try to be.
Yeah, so
Stuff
I
like
could see
that.
that, just flipping the cards and taking the story aspect from the character creation and continue your character from there.
Yeah.
Now he has something else to accomplish.
Exactly. All right. So before I get into the other two, which will happen later on in the thing, let's go ahead and continue with Forging a Fate.
Yeah, so
Alright.
talents. Okay.
You actually do have classes
Oh, okay.
that you get to
Okay.
choose from. For example, you wanted to be a gunslinger.
So just touch a little bit. You
Oh,
got
yeah.
criminals.
Criminals, thiefy your thiefy style. The guys who grab things that don't belong to them. You got your dabbler, your spellcrafter. This is the guy that you want to be if you want to go ahead and be a spell flinger, wizard, mage, stuff like that.
Okay.
A drudge. Drudges are, in the Malifaux world, they're day-to-day people that maybe have an augment or two that need to do a job.
Laborers and stuff.
Laborers, stuff like that. You could actually use this to maybe make out a person for mechanical combat. If you want to go ahead and, rather than using guns and stuff like that, use augments on your arm and stuff like that, you can use it with do this with the drudge.
Okay.
Alright. So our next one is our grave robber. Name kind of gives it away. It's a necromancer. You really don't want people
It's
to
Daddy.
realize you're a grave robber because those are kind of
It's frowned upon.
Frowned upon. All right. So next one, our guard. He's more of your tank. He's the guy that's going to take the damage and try to, aggro the
things off
guys,
you.
keep things off you. You can. The interesting part is you can do it with bullets. You can do it with whatever. That's all good. You're a gunfighter. What Ben was really trying to create. Here's your gunslinger.
There we go.
Is there more of this? That's the last one.
There's more of them.
Let's just
Let's,
go through all of them.
okay.
The
Our next
gunfighter.
one, your mercenary. You got everything here from. These are more like your rifle guys.
Okay.
You want to do that. Overseer is more of your command. Getting kind of your buffer, getting people to do things for you. Performer, your crowd controller, and a social aspect.
Kind of like the bard of the group.
Kind of
in-
like
in
the
an
bard of the
aspect.
group, exactly. And then you got your pioneer is more of your ranger style, He knows the lay of the land, stuff like that. Your scalper, which is more of your berserker fighter, I'm going to get in close and I'm going to beat you to a pulp. That's my job. And then we got two more, the tinkerer, which is creating mechanical things, maybe golems, stuff like that.
Also
And then
augments if you lose body parts. Or something in
correct.
the game.
And then your wrestler. So this guy's kind of more of a trick of a jack or a all-around person.
Jack of all
A
trades.
jack of all trades. He deals more with the cards that you actually use and stuff like
Okay.
that. All right. So what's the benefit of choosing a class? One, you have to do it. Two,
How is a benefit?
yeah. Two, you get gear from that class. So, for example, gunfighter, which is what Ben wants to do. Gunfighter begins the game with one pistol or a shotgun with a value of 20 gold or 20 silver or whatever. It's called guild script. It's the
Okay.
money in the game. But
Okay.
this weapon gains one customization at no additional cost. So
That's
gear, you can actually customize it. So that's kind of cool. And then you get a new ability, finger on the trigger, when this character fails a ranged combat duel during a dramatic scene, which we'll get later on in the gameplay. A character on this pursuit may advance in any ranged combat skill in addition to those and all that stuff. So pretty much, should you miss, you can actually cheat fate on getting that attack. This is what it is allowing you to cheat on your fate.
Okay, so let's do like a little mock-up.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there's a target number for what you.
Correct. There is
Okay.
Fate Master will always have a target number that you
Okay.
kind of has in mind.
So
And-
what's the will be the average like.
Average is around 5 for a normal, 10 for difficult.
So like say 10. Average for a gunslinger to shoot.
Average for a gunslinger to shoot, you're probably going to have a 5 counting because you would add
'Cause I
your
would add
grace
my-
and your
then my shooting
skills.
skills.
Okay.
and stuff.
Exactly.
So
So,
let's
5
say
or 4.
5. So that means he's gonna flip the top of his deck.
Correct.
And hopefully get a 5.
Correct.
In this case, he did get an 8, so
he
he would
wouldn't have to
succeed.
cheat. Say,
Okay, so let's say he would get ace is low, yeah.
yeah, ace is a 1.
Okay, he would have got a 1.
1. All right. So say he has a 1. When you kind of closer to the end of the character creation,
Yeah.
you're building a fate. It's what's called a fate deck, or a twisted deck. Pretty much, this is what you're using to cheat your fate. You have a
So he has a hand.
yeah. You have 3 cards in your hand. These are what you cheat with, and then on top of that, you have those 3 cards are coming from a deck of 13 cards. It's a deck that you customly make.
Oh, okay. So that's
Ooh.
different from the
Correct.
actual Malifaux miniatures game.
Correct.
Oh, wow.
Rather than using a full deck, you're
Yeah.
using a smaller
The
deck.
the only people that actually need a full deck is the Fate Master, and that deck is only used for creating your characters, flipping cards for you guys. Say, like for example, you wanted that 8, you would draw that from the Fate Master's deck, or damage, which we'll get later on in
Yeah.
gameplay. But so that's kind of the interesting aspect. Is also
So
the
everybody
twisted
has to
side.
bring their own deck.
Everybody brings
Okay.
their own deck.
Yeah.
It's
You
like
ca-
if everybody brings their own dice.
yeah. All right, but so all in all, that's what characters are. They give you talents. They give you stuff like that.
Kind of give you a role.
Give you
in
a
the
role in
group,
what you
know.
need to do. And from there, let's go on to going ahead and that twisted deck. What the heck is a twisted deck? Is the
That's
question.
part of gameplay, yeah.
That is actually a part of your character creation.
Oh, okay.
Because what you do is, again, you have a 13-card deck that you have to make. And if you want to follow along, should be after. It's all the way near the end, close to skills, but before the... And
And
after
I'm
talents and
assuming
stuff like
talents are like feats.
that. Yeah, talents are feats.
Okay.
There are some talents that will allow you to go ahead and customize your fate or your twisted deck a little
Okay.
bit more, but it's mostly stuff like getting bonus flips or minus flips.
Okay. And minus flip means when you remember when he went to shoot, he flipped 1 card. Minus flip means you flip 2 cards and you pick the lowest. A positive flip will be you flip 2 cards, pick the highest. Is there like in the game? Is there
Like in the
Is there
game.
multiple pluses and
Okay.
minuses
There
where you
are.
can get minus
So-
2 flip or
Mhm.
So a minus 2 flip meaning is you're gonna be flipping 2 extra cards. So you're gonna flip your main one and 2 extra cards, and then you pick the lowest.
Correct.
A positive 2 flip will be the same thing, but you pick the highest.
Mm-hmm. And
So-
there's a lot more pluses and minuses
Okay.
to the double flips and stuff like that in the game. Also, talking about the flips and everything like that. Like he said, minus flips and positive
Mhm.
flips, you cannot cheat on them. Like in the game, you cannot
Yes.
cheat on the minus
Negative
flips.
flips.
Yeah.
Yeah, negative flips you can't cheat.
Correct. All right. So twisted deck. It's on page 23. Or sorry, 63. Ooh, numbers. All right. So detailed description of what is a twisted deck. You know, you actually do choose your suit. It does give you a little bit of details on what does the suit govern. For example, Rams. Rams influence more over the physical augmentations, healing, physical damage, and willpower. And again, each suit does something different. For example, Crows, you got armor, decay, undead, and wounds. So you're going to probably want your higher suit in Crows more than anything else. Okay. All right. So when you create a deck, what you're going to do is you're going to still use all 4 suits.
Okay. You have to have
You
4
have to have all 4 suits.
represented. Like I
Represented.
could just have 1 card.
Correct.
Okay.
So you can't there's ways you can do it later on when
Yeah.
you're higher level, but at beginner's level you have to have all your 4 suits.
Okay.
Okay.
One more question.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that you make it once and you're done, or can each session can I tweak my deck?
It's first you make it. After that, you have to gain talents to actually augment it. So
Okay.
it's a kind of more permanent aspect of
Okay.
you. So how do you create this twisted deck, as they call it? All right. So you first choose your defining suit, which is
Oh,
your
the
primary
detective
suit. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So from your primary suit, you're going to take the ace, the 5, the 9, and the king.
Okay. Ace, 5,
5, 9, and king. So for
So it gives you an average.
yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
Gives you a couple mediums, low and high.
correct.
So your primary suit would have been.
I probably would have chosen. We'll go with Rams.
Rams, yeah, because this is more of your physical aspect. Your next suit, I would go ahead and suggest mass, just because it's over deception, defense, speed, and agility.
Which I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your Rams are good because it governs your damage. All right, so your next suit. You after that, you choose another suit. This is his ascendant suit. From that, you choose your 4, your 8, and your queen, and you're putting that into your deck.
For what suit?
For your second suit.
Or
So
whatever second suit he picks.
second, whatever
So I'll
second suit you pick,
I'll do
which would
masks for
mean
that.
masks for that, and then you choose. Lastly, he chooses a suit to be his center, which you add the 3, the 7, and the jack, and then from there, any of the remaining cards you're missing, like for example, the
Over.
2, 6, and 10, you're gonna add the last suits to that,
Okay.
Okay.
and that is what you make.
So you end up having a deck from 1 through.
Yep, you make a 1 through 13 deck
Oh, okay.
With a mixture of all the suits.
with
of
a mixture of all the suits.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a cool, interesting part.
I
that
really,
like
really
it.
dig that.
It's very
There's-
unique.
There's a metagaming within the that
Exactly.
deck twisting deck. That's pretty cool.
All right, and so lastly, we're gonna go ahead and come to equipment. What the heck
This gear.
is equipment? What's your gear? What are you looking at? First thing you have is your gear starts on page 149. It goes all the way down to, there we go, 182. So you pretty much got a good
About 30 pages worth
30
of equipment
pages
here.
worth of equipment in here.
Okay.
Pretty much, again, equipment governs everything from your weapons. You can customize your weapons. You have normal gear, which you can custom. You can not really customize normal gear, but you can kind of create packs that you want.
Yeah.
It's not always the adventure pack. Your basic, food, gear, money or stuff that you need. You can actually augment your pack into what I want, what my character wants.
Okay.
And lastly, it also does talk about stuff like augments, which are kind of nice. Augments, ammunition, services, everything you really need you have right here. Even armor. Yes, there is armor in here.
Very important in the game.
Yes. Your real mission is to die before your fate is revealed. So, prosthetic limbs, and what happens with prosthetic limbs and a lot of the other things like armor and stuff like that, they actually give you traits from the game. Like for armor, example, a light armor will give you armor 1.
So armor 1 is each time you take damage, you reduce
it by 1.
Yeah, unless it has like armor piercing.
Correct. And for example, heavy armor will give you armor 2. There's equipment in this game that will give you hard to kill, which means you get reduced to, you take a damage that's going to reduce you to 0, you get reduced to 1 rather than 0.
So they have to
that.
hit
They
you
have to hit
twice.
you again.
Yep. And so that's mostly the interesting part about this, is that it actually,
So they did keep aspects of the miniatures
Aspects of the
game,
game.
keep it in
Yes.
here too, so you can kind of
So
already
if you-
have a general idea of how
Yes.
things go if you've also played the miniatures game as well.
correct. So that's the cool part. And for the most part, that's character creation. You go ahead, you get your, you have 50 script that you go ahead and
spend.
You get to
Okay.
spend for free whatever you want. That's character creation for you.
All right, very cool.
Okay, so let's pause. Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to talk about gameplay on the Malifaux role-playing game.
Malifaux. All right. So gameplay. Gameplay starts on 183. Again, like we touched shortly in our previous videos, all your people are going to be drawing from a deck. That's going to be the Fate Master deck. It's a whole 52 card deck. The nice part is that should you not want to, spend how much ever this costs for a specialized deck, on page 185 they give you the translations for how to change it.
Deck.
Yep, how to use a regular poker deck, the whites, reds, everything like that.
Yeah.
So,
these decks are amazing.
yes, they are. They are totally worth
They're
it.
a high quality plastic card now that they
Yeah.
make them out of. They do have a regular set
Paper
ones, but after playing with this the actual miniatures game for several years now, these plastic cards are amazing. They last you forever. They can really take a beating. They don't wear and tear on the edges.
Yep.
You're not buying decks as often.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna go ahead through a scenario which is gonna explain the basic gist of what's gonna happen with Ben and his character. So again, we have a deck right here, and go ahead, Ben, if you would like to shuffle, because I don't know if we
I stacked
shuffled
Yeah,
it or
especially
stacked
with
it.
that black Joker that was on the top 5 cards there in character creation. Don't want that in combat.
Yep,
do you?
exactly. So, kind of run over. Gameplay is actually for the people that have played the skirmish game. You're playing the game.
Yes,
It's
very similar.
very, very similar.
For
So
people who haven't played the game,
this is how you do it.
this is how
You do it. Okay, sorry. All right. So once Ben is done shuffling, we'll go ahead and do this part.
All right.
Wait,
So
you gotta cut.
oh yeah.
Oh, now I gotta cut. Now the
No,
black
there
Joker's
you go.
on top. I know it. I always flip the black Joker. It's
All
my
right.
trademark.
So, for example, we're gonna go through a few quick scenarios. Ben's talking to a guy, and he's trying to cheat him out of a little bit of money. Maybe you're talking to a shopkeeper and you want to go ahead and get the price down. How are you gonna go ahead and deal with this guy? From here, you would go ahead, look at their stuff called attribute
Yeah.
deals. From here, for example, maybe you want to kind of use your cunning to spread false things about the thing you want to, like for example, a gun. Oh, I heard that it jams a lot. Oh, I did this. I would go ahead, in my mind, you would do a set number for you, maybe because he's kind of a little bit gullible, I'll go ahead and place him at a 5.
He's not that smart.
He's not that smart. So actually, you would go ahead and take the monster stats, which is in the Fate Almanac, which we have, but not. I won't pull it out right now. So, and you would go ahead and I would add his barter skill to it. So say he has a 3. So now you got to beat an 8.
So
go
I
ahead.
have to
flip
beat an
that.
8.
Yep.
I pulled a 7 of tomes.
He pulled a 7 of tomes, and then he would add his cunning to that.
My cunning was
it was 3.
a +3.
Yep. So you
the
got a
best that it
10.
could be.
Yep. So, and what would happen then is I would go ahead and say, yeah, you cheated him. You cheated him out. He kind of believes you in that gun, so he really wants you to buy this gun, so he'll drop it.
So drop
the
the price a little bit for me.
So, basically about attribute. Gameplay, I will. I should have said this before I get into it. You're not. Fate Master is not rolling anything. He's not flipping the cards unless there's damage. If Fate Master says you're getting hit, you got to see if you get hit. But you're most likely getting hit. All right, so let's go ahead and go into the getting hit aspect of it.
So do like a little combat. Is there
Yeah.
initiative?
There is initiative. So what you would do is you would flip your card, and now you're going to go ahead. That's
Got a
actually really
12
good.
of masks.
Yep.
So queen.
So you got a queen, and then you would go ahead. You would get your derived things from here, But for example, you got a mask. I would now flip my guy. I have a jack. So you actually are going to go ahead before me. If it's a tie, it goes down to suits. And going descending order, rams, tomes, crows, and then masks.
Okay.
Um,
So if we tied, I'd have been going last
Correct.
because I flipped the masks.
correct. So from there, I would go ahead. He would go first. He would do his little pew pew. Now it's he say go ahead and flip. I give you a 10
Going for
because
an
it's a
attack.
little bit difficult. He's trying to cover from you.
And I flipped my
You flipped
13.
a 13. You would go ahead and add your pistol skills, which is
Probably
say a
around
5 or
Yeah, probably around 5.
yeah. So you would definitely hit from here, just like in the game.
Okay, so I was gonna
So-
say.
Uh-huh.
One of the cool things in the miniatures game is based on how high your card is that you flipped, you have several different damage steps. You have low, moderate, and high. There's nifty little things on the cards that indicate that. So I flipped a 13 or a king, which is high damage. So I would be doing the maximum amount of damage my weapon is allowed to do.
But this is basically
That's just a hit.
Oh, but that's
Right,
on
yeah.
the hit. Yeah.
All right. However, like in the game, depending on how a certain degree of how well you hit, depends on what you get.
Does the monster or the NPC roll to dodge?
No.
Okay,
I
so
do
that's
not
different
dodge.
from the
So
game.
no
Correct.
defensive flips.
No defensive.
Okay, but in the game, you both flip and you compare the numbers.
Well, no. For the Fate Master, you do get a defensive flip. So.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
And there's the black
There's
Joker.
the black joker. So black jokers again are zeros.
So-
Red jokers are 14. So you hit me with no problem.
So the difference between 0 and 13 and 18 is
18
a ton.
is a ton. You do something that I really like that games should be doing, which I'm very happy that they did. On page 248, you have on the back of your index, right before your character sheet, you got everything you need to
All the tables.
all the
Okay, all the
tables,
tables
you
you
need.
need.
Exactly. So, for example, you beat me by 2 or more. You're actually gonna get a plus on your flip. And for me, I failed by 3 or more. So you're actually getting a +3.
Oh
on
wow!
your
So
flip.
they're actually all right. So the chart changed a little bit from the miniatures
Yes.
game.
Correct.
But it also gives you more pluses because +2 in the miniatures game was the highest.
Yeah.
Correct.
So then I'd flip my first card technically.
Yep.
Then I'd flip 3 additional cards. That's not a very good damage
No.
flip. I got a 3, a 4, and 2 5s.
Fives.
So
Correct.
I'd
So
be doing low damage.
Yep. Weak damage. There's weak, moderate, and severe. Jokers give you a severe and a critical. So there's that. And so you would be doing 1 damage. Or so on and so forth.
What's the average hit points on a human?
Average hit points on a human is around 4 or 5.
Okay.
So,
one.
So
A fifth
it's
of
not
his life.
horrible.
Correct.
So you hit him square in the chest.
But he missed a vital spot.
It was a through and through. No vital organs were
Yeah.
hit. And
All right. So, again, I have cards from the miniatures game. They are actually really close to the monster stats and everything like that. There's 1 or 2 minor differences. Like, for example, I got a guild rifleman. Rifleman, the only difference with the rifleman is his rifle is a little bit shorter ranged on the card than in the game. So,
Okay.
from a 12, he's actually a 14. And now I have an Alp from the Neverborn. Again, same stats, except for the only difference is his heights. His height is, in the miniatures game, is a 1. That also governs on how well you hit. In the actual game, he's a 2.
2.
Yeah.
Okay.
But all his abilities, everything like that, are actually the same as in this book.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to go ahead and use a guild rifleman for our next example. All right. So it's the guild rifleman's turn. He gets to
put him
make a
down.
fire back. All right. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and make my he's going to shoot you. I
Okay.
don't pull anything from here yet. He gets pluses to shoot. For example, he gets a plus card to shoot whenever he's next to another rifleman, which say, for example, he is. You are now receiving a negative card flip.
Okay. He's getting bonuses, so I'm getting negatives.
Correct.
Okay.
So I say he hits. Now you're gonna go ahead and flip for defense.
You
That-
say it or
I say he hits. This
It's one of the
is
interesting
again
things about this game that I heard of
Wow.
back when it was getting kickstarted was that he says you get hit by a creature. Now it's my job to change my fate as not getting hit and having
Why
that
would a
bullet hit
GM
me.
say you miss? He misses.
I don't know.
Okay.
I was gonna say that's again when I was talking about those 4 things I dislike. That's the third one.
It's different, I guess.
It's kind of good because you can continue with your story. However, Fate Masters or GM shouldn't always be to kill the character. And with this, you're kind of always saying you're getting hit, you're getting hit, you're getting hit. There's no way of the player going, well, what if you don't hit? You're not that great of a shot. You're not hitting 110%.
Right.
All right, so you go ahead
I
and
would
make your
flip
defense flip.
My first card and then my second card.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a very
That's
good
actually
flip.
a really good flip.
And
I
he
flipped
picks the lowest.
I picked the lowest, sadly. I got a 12 of crows and the red joker. Red joker is the best card in the game.
So 14.
You would, yeah.
So you
So-
can pick the red joker, but you
Correct.
still pick the 12, which is high.
Which is
Yep.
still very good.
Which
I'm most
target
likely
number
gonna
was?
dodge.
Target number would be, say like a 10 or something
10?
like that.
Okay,
You would
so-
beat it.
So I would beat it, and I would dodge
Yeah.
several riflemen trying to gun my gunslinger down.
Exactly. Maybe he kind of, you're an outlaw. Maybe you, after the you
Kicked up some
kind of
dust or something.
after you kind of con that shop owner, maybe you con the wrong one because he's actually a supplier for the guild, and now you got the guild running after you.
So I guess the GM, you have a little control for story-wise.
Correct.
If you as a GM want to not scare but bring attention to a certain area, you will have them show up and miss and tell them, hey, you hear something.
Yeah.
Because we all are veteran GMs here, and sometimes you put this DM screen, you roll, and you're like, oh, this shouldn't be hitting. Yes, he
Yeah.
misses.
You're sitting here like, oh, well, I wanted to do some damage, but that's going to kill him, and
Yeah.
I don't want him to die at this point, so...
Or you could go and say, roll as he misses. You're like, man, they're kicking this encounter ass. So he crits you.
Yeah.
So I guess here it just flat out makes it more controlled by the GM.
based. Yeah.
It's different. It's something to get used to, but yeah.
So let's go ahead and say you got away. That rifleman took that shot, and now he's trying to reposition. Now let's say you actually kind of, since you know what a rifleman can do because of how well he can shoot and everything like that, let's say now you want to go ahead and hide or do something like that.
Take some cover.
Take some
possibly,
cover, possibly, stuff like that. So, from here, what you would go ahead and do is say you're going to go ahead and use your dex. My monster has an area of effect that gives you a -1 for dex. However, you get a +2 card flip because you're that great.
I'm trained in it.
You're trained in it,
I have
stuff like
skills
that.
that boost it.
Yeah. All right. So now what you're going to do with that is 1 negative equals out 1 positive. So you throw away that. So you actually get a +1 flip.
Yeah.
Okay.
If so in this situation, Ben has 2 positive flips. The guy gives him a -1 flip, so they negate. So Ben is still on a positive flip
Correct.
All right.
of
So-
1.
So then I would flip the top 2 cards, choosing the highest, which I
Mhm.
flipped a 10 and a 4,
10.
so I'm going to take the 10 as my
Absolutely.
bonus.
And from there, you would go ahead and successfully hide. Now, for example, say now my monster has you kind of found some good cover, and say you found it so good that now you kind of hid away from him. You used a stealth check or something like that. So now he's got to try to find you. In this aspect, I would go ahead and take his search or notice skill. I would go ahead and flip it, and it would be up against your skills. So you say your stealth skill. You actually get to flip. This is what is considered a duel.
So we're basically doing an opposed attribute test towards
Exactly.
each other.
So the monster's trying to find you, and you're trying to prevent
And
that.
I'm trying to stay still or quiet my breath or whatnot. So
Exactly.
I flipped an 8. And
Plus
say-
your skills.
Say
Plus
you
my
would
skills,
be like
so-
a 3 or 4, and my guy's maybe not that. Rifleman is on the contrary, but for example, maybe it was an Alp, and Alps are kind of mischievous and don't care about the world. So he has a 1. So at that example, he would go ahead and spot you just because he beat you by the number.
Either way, it would spot me.
Yeah.
Your
But-
flip is pretty good there.
Yeah. And for the most part, that's the game. Honestly, it's all about the flips. Let's go ahead and give. You have your
My cheating hand.
cheating hand, and now I go ahead and flip a card. Say, or there you go. I flip a card to try and say that
There you go.
yeah.
So he flips a 5 and you flip an ace, which is a 1.
And you don't have any negatives to this flip. That's
Yeah.
the key thing.
Straight up flip.
Straight up flip.
Or a positive.
Or a positive flip.
So
There you go.
There you
That
go.
was your positive.
that was my positive flip was an ace and a 2.
So he
So,
picks a
it's
2.
about the same in the miniatures game for me. I usually get that.
So
I have
he
a
will be
5.
failing this check.
Correct.
But since it's a positive or equal, he has a chance to change fate.
Correct.
Right.
So he could pick a card from his hand and replace the 2.
So I'll go ahead and play a jack from my hand, which counts as an 11. So it's a higher card.
Yep.
And then
which
he would
is a lot
succeed.
better.
And you would succeed.
One question: the deck hand gets
That's the thing. No.
My hand does not get refreshed.
Correct.
Ooh.
You have to. There.
But
is
his
a-
hand is all 13 cards.
Yeah. No. Your hand is
Just
3
3 at a
cards.
time?
3 at a time.
Okay, so
3
I have
per
to do-
session.
Well, not per session. There's ways of getting it back. There's ways of getting your cards back. One of them is there's a specific action that you can. It's a rest action in which you can go ahead and refill your cards.
Refill your cards. Oh,
Stuff
so
like that.
that actually makes your cards very. You want to pick
Yeah.
and choose what you're going to be cheating at. 'cause-
Now-
Yes, you can't be go cheat.
Let's say,
Cheat a
for
lot.
example, we've been going for a while. You've used up all your cheating hand, and you got it sitting right over here. You do not get to reshuffle that.
Okay, so those 13 cards is
It's precious.
And especially because you're gonna start memorize them.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, ooh, I already used my king, my queen, my jack. Ooh, there's not a lot
so
left.
I know what I have left in there, and I know
Yeah.
what suits I'm looking for, whatnot.
Correct.
So,
Now,
okay.
for example,
that's very-
say you've used your 13 cards and you kind of really want it back, and the fate deck's kind of running low. I have I have 1 card left, and I gotta make a flip. I go ahead and pull that card out, and I gotta reshuffle the fate deck. You then get to reshuffle your deck.
Oh,
Okay.
so
It's whenever the Fate Master has to shuffle a deck.
that we
You
get to
get to
shuffle ours
shuffle it.
back in.
Ooh,
Okay.
interesting.
Yep, that's again a cool cool aspect that I like. It's all about
So
what
getting
does the
pluses
Fate
and
Master
minuses
have?
is actually, can be beneficial to the player because it's going to make you burn through those decks
Decks
fast, especially if
fast.
you're burning through your own twisted deck.
Exactly.
So it also makes skill bonuses more important. So you prefer to have a +2, +3 than to be cheating all the time. Like
Yeah,
from your
you
hand.
want higher skills rather than
Yeah.
lower skills and
Skills
burning
and
through your
stuff
hand.
like that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it'll be a lot more beneficial.
Yep.
Yep.
And again, like in the game, you can heal. You can heal. You can do all that stuff.
Make
It's
healing
all
flips.
of healing flips, stuff like that. An example: say you have a guild guard. Again, perfect. Good job, guys. For Weird for doing this. Your monster each has a rank. This tells you how hard they are, and the Fate Master gets to cheat as well.
Oh.
Why would you cheat? Maybe you want them to do a little bit more damage. Maybe you want them to actually pass that notice check.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Like they always hit. So.
yeah, I was gonna say, why would you?
Yeah.
On attack, you're never gonna use it. But for example, you get card points. These card points are what the number of cards you can use to cheat, ever.
Okay.
So, say for example, your guild guard's a minion. You actually only get 1 card with him that you are allowed to cheat with.
You pick the card?
No, you flip it.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
I technically cheat without a hand. It's like
Okay.
playing in the actual. It's the reverse of actually playing
The
in
miniature.
Malifaux. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
But so and again, target numbers, rank values, everything's right here on 248. All right. So that's pretty much gameplay as far as the normal stuff. Here's the complicated and the fourth one that I don't really like. Magic. Magic is all based on comparing, contrasting, having combinations. First thing you have, Magic starts on page 240, ends all the way until you get to that little index, which is at 246. 220 to 246. So, first thing you do when you create a magic user, and often your first talent is going to be to create a theory. How do you cast your magic? What do you get this? And this kind of, again, is a kind of role-playing aspect. These govern what you get your bonus flips off of for magic. Like, for example, necromancy. Which would be, for example, let's go example to traditional magic, which is on page 224. The character chooses a pairing of skills presented below, like sorcery and necromancy, counterspell and harnessing soulstone, stuff like that. The character then chooses one of these skills and gains a plus flip in all duels that he chooses to do. However, he may never have a higher rating than 1 in the pair. So pretty much, you can choose sorcery and necromancy. You're only ever allowed to have a skill of 1 in that pairing, but you get a plus flip on it. And again, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 to 9 different disciplines that you can choose from. So very augmentatious. All right. Soulstones. There are some spells that require you to use them. Some things that you're not required to use them. Soulstones basically do the same thing as in the game, and to the aspect of allows you to go ahead and maybe pull additional cards or do additional actions.
Allows you to modify your flips.
Allows to modify your flips. There's different varieties of them. So there's ones that are, you take, for example, 225. There's a size and a quality. You're going to take the size of it, the quality of it, do a little bit of math, and that's how much you get from that soulstone. So it's...
So they're not just one base currency. There's
correct.
Different ones. Okay.
Now, and there's example lades which you get by generating those. For example, say you have a small gemstone of 1, but it's oily shimmer. It has an oily shimmering color. That would be the size of a gemstone is 1. The oily color is a 2. You flip over here, your Lade, which is you adding those two, is a 3. You have 5 charges on it. To Seep, which is basically to recharge it, you get 2 charges per year. Or sorry, 1 charge per month for a 3. 2 charges per year for a Lade of 2.
Oh, wow.
And if you want to sell them in your game, it has the value to them. Or if you want to...
do you start with those?
No.
Okay.
Yes, you have to...
That's a lot of money.
Yes, you have to create it. There are creation skills that allow you to craft soulstones and stuff like that.
And anybody can use that, or only...
Only the magic users can use that. Or unless you have the proper skill, which there is a use soulstone skill.
Okay.
Again, recharging, it gives you all about that. You can... It tells you about siphoning, how you actually can, as long as the soulstone's quality rating is greater than the character's tenacity, you can go ahead and fill soulstone on a dead person. Charges, again, you can use it to manipulate, you can use it to augment the duel, basically changing the suit or stuff like that, and maintaining spells. Alright, now we get into the more confusing part, grimoires. Grimoires are, in all aspects, they're just your book.
So you store your spells.
Spells book, that's where you store your spells. That could be and it gives you a wide variety of how you can describe them. Next one, and honestly, that's all it ever tells you about grimoires, which for an important in this way how you do spell casting, which we'll get to in a second. You have to have a grimoire, and you have to have a what's called an imperator, or sorry, I can't say it right, but it's
The Immuto.
Immuto. Thank you. This is how you actually augment the spell and all that stuff. Like, you can change it to do more damage, you can do that stuff. In order to cast a spell, you have to have a Magio, which is your grimoire, which has that spell, and Matu.
Okay, so you have to have 2 elements to cast it with.
Correct. Now, how do you get those? I guess storytelling, because it doesn't tell you. All right.
So it's up to GM discretion.
It's up to
really. It's up
GM
your
discretion, which is something that's again is was my problem. So spell casting has always been a confusing part, kind of for me, but for a lot of systems.
In a lot of games, it's
the most complicated
it
part.
is the most complicated part of certain games.
For something that's so vital, because in Malifaux you have all your big bad casters. It's always there.
Yeah, but in Malifaux, the casters are usually very like masters or henchmen, so it's more of a rarity than a comedy.
Correct.
Being common.
But yeah, so that's kind of one of my complaints. But pretty much what you're gonna do, if you want to cast a spell, what you would do is say you would go ahead and flip over to that spell. Say you want to use Elemental Engulf. You're using your aspect for tenacity. Your target number, it gives you right there 5 atoms, so you actually do have to have that suit, the 5 atom suit. You do get ability points. Ability. How many
times you can cast,
stuff like that. Which is, it would take 1 ability point from you, and to resist it is a willpower, and your range is 5. All right, so you got all this. And again, it says the good thing for this requirement is that it has to have at least 1 elemental immuto or whatever. So, how do you do that? You're gonna flip over to the immutos, and you're gonna go. It says alteration immutos. These are all the immutos you can use on alteration. There's augmentation, spell or elemental immutos and stuff like that. There's 1 for each type of casting, so you don't have to worry about that. However, immutos actually add 1 to the target number. Like, for example, depending on how you want to do it. For example, spirit. If you add in a spirit with that engulfing thing, the damage dealt by this magicka ignores armor and the Hearts of Wound ability. That gives you a +4, which is understandable. It's a very strong spell. That's very powerful. Or for example, let's go with Decay for a +1.
So let me get this to like D&D terms. So if I'm a caster, I want to cast Magic Missile.
Yep.
Now I can alter it to be a Magic Missile of poison.
Correct.
Or of spirit.
Correct.
And each alteration makes it harder to cast, but changes the aspect of the Magic Missile.
Which is very cool. The modifying, I think, is very unique, because a lot of games don't give you that. You don't, like you said, you just have Magic Missile in certain games. You just throw a fireball.
Oh,
this is giving the idea. Now I'm throwing a fireball with a fire spirit in it, who's also attacking you, kind of thing. That's pretty cool.
No, but that's a cool, like, the monster's immune to fire. Oh, I memorize fireball. I am SOL.
Yeah.
Here, you're like, no, I'm changing it to a poison ball, or whatever.
And the cool thing, like, for elemental, like you just said, the fireball aspect, immune to fire. All right, I'm elemental. It doesn't ever give you a specific element. So for 1 moment, you could be casting fireball. Crap, it doesn't do anything to it. Let's change that to a lightning.
Ball of lightning.
a ball of lightning or something like that. So it
Also has some role playing.
yes,
Yeah.
it adds role playing flair and everything like that. It's a very heavy role playing system, but all in all, that's what Magic is. It's you do the spell, you add the augmentations to it, and that's how. And you would go ahead and flip a card and try to get that TN and that suit.
Cool.
And that's pretty much all. Again, the only problem that I have with the Magic part is it always tells you that you have a grimoire, and that's all. It's like, okay, so how do you? It's again up to Fate Master's discretion, but how do you find those spells and how do you find those immutos? So,
What do you think, Ben?
Oh, overall, I think it's pretty cool. I've been looking forward to the game for a while, and I think the card aspect's gonna be pretty unique because you've never seen this in a role-playing game before, not using the dice system. And me personally, I like playing systems that get away from the standard D20s or anything like that, and make unique systems. So I'm looking forward to playing it.
So, you think somebody that has never played a miniature game would be interested in this?
I think so. I think even from a new role playing standpoint, most people have heard of Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that, and they know of D20 systems. That this could be an interesting take on those, especially for somebody who's into, like, say, steampunk. This is very steampunk.
steampunky.
So there's a lot. You go to a lot of cons nowadays, and you see steampunk players, and they're like, "Oh, look at this! This is in that kind of world. This is the area I like to be in." So, I think new players would very much so like to get into this. I think it's got a lot of things that bring new ideas to the table. That'll draw people in, and they'll be like, this is pretty cool. I want to try it out.
And the second book is the DM book, and it's basically
pretty much it's the Fate. It's called the Fate Master's Almanac. It has all the lore that you will ever need to learn about in the book. So any person new to the world would
So you can
love
read
to
more
pick
in
that
depth on
up.
the factions, how they interact with each
Exactly.
other, more in the city of Malifaux.
Correct. And it also has the monsters. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But it's
So,
a good lot of it's
pretty thick
good.
book for,
I was gonna say it has a lot of good information about it though. That's good.
so as a player, you only have to purchase this. You don't have to
Correct.
purchase the other one.
Even for the Fate Masters, I would go ahead and just say have a copy of this with you,
Yeah.
just so you can learn the rules and everything like that. And something that something that always worries me is expansions. Are they going to be coming out with them? What's that? And I think Weird kind of gave us a little bit of a hint with the M. The next
yes,
one's
we
an
found out by
A.
mistake.
Yep.
So it'll spell out on your bookshelf eventually Malifaux or something.
Yeah, that's what we think.
So,
The price tag is $40. Comparing it like with the last review they did with 5th edition, 5th edition is $50. I think you had a bit more pages over the 5th edition, and
Yeah.
you got hardback.
yeah.
Yeah, hard.
That's
That's the one thing I don't
don't like the
about this
paperback.
book is the paperback. It'll get damaged very easily, especially most game masters. You're keeping your books in a backpack or some sort of satchel that you carry with you to your game nights, and
You're going to be referring to a lot of.
you're going to be flipping back and forth. So I would definitely say if you aren't a fan of the softback, probably get it rebinded somehow in something that's going to keep it a lot sturdier and make it last a little bit longer. Even if you have each page removed carefully or whatnot and put it in a clear spacers or something like that, that'll definitely add to the longevity of the book itself.
I was hoping like a $35 range or $30.
Yeah.
But $40, I think it's a little bit steep. But so far, so good. Any closing thoughts?
No, I think we did a pretty good job covering over it.
Okay. You guys have any questions or comments? Just post it right below the video. Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a good one.